In this episode of the Data Masterclass podcast, we welcome Philipp Behre, Head of Data Strategy and Management at Sartorius, a fast-growing biopharma company that scaled self-service analytics to more than 3,000 users. Let us welcome your host, Borek.
Hello, data leaders. I have a huge pleasure today in our Data Masterclass podcast to welcome Philipp Behre, who is the Head of Data Strategy and Management at Sartorius, a high-growth healthcare company. And he had many interesting experiences in the past, working as a product director for analytics, database, and technology at SAP, as a solutions architect at Amazon Web Services, as the head of IT, connected car IT architecture and security at Audi, as the chief data officer at TÜV, which is sort of our security auditing giant in Germany, and then started at Sartorius as the head of data strategy and management since 1 year. So I'm sure he has lots of very interesting lessons to share with you. And I'm particularly impressed how Sartorius is democratizing data. And this is one of the focus areas today. Welcome to the show, Philipp.
Thank you, Alex. I'm very happy to be here, and I'm actually looking forward to just talk to you.
Philipp, tell us about your company. I think it's a very exciting environment you are in.
Absolutely. So Sartorius, we are a partner of life science research and biopharmaceutical industry. So what it really comes down to that with our products, we want to support our customers to accelerate the process in life science products or biopharmaceutical products to bring them to market and bring them to market effectively. But medicine is just one part of it. As life science, of course, we talk about food industry and other areas as well. We have been founded in 1870, so we're more than 150 years old, and the company has been renovating itself ever since. Today our focus is really on life science research and biopharmaceutical industry and support there. We are in 60 plus locations worldwide, 16,000 employees, and a little bit more than 4 billion revenue in the last year. It's a great environment. It's scaling very fast. And with COVID, there was another boost in terms of scaling an already fast-moving market.
And how do you manage data in such an environment? What are the particular challenges or particularities in such an environment?
That's a good point. And when I joined, that was one of the first things to me that became obvious. It's a lot about supporting the fast scaling of the business, supporting at the same time running maturity process when it comes to company business processes, business systems, and so on with data. And then of course, supporting that mission that is quite ambitious there, of course. Yeah. But scale and speed, that's something that think about. I mean, to me, data management and a solid foundation around data management, analytics, and so on has like a marathon component, but everybody here is a sprinter. And that's sort of like the challenge and the world that need to be connected. The last years were very interesting for us because we are in a growing market. So we had already a good trajectory there. And in addition to that, the COVID effect actually accelerated that even more. So we were growing in revenue, we were growing in people, and this causes particular challenges towards data management.
Can you tell us about the growth you've been through? Do you have some numbers?
Oh, we have just in a few years we doubled the revenue actually there, and we ramped up in a very short amount of time about 2,500 to 3,000 new employees there, and that's itself is causing for the organization a challenge to digest and to integrate everything in there. But I think the culture of the organization to have a very pragmatic approach in solving challenges and moving forward has had a big impact to really make that possible at all.
Why did they bring you in with your experience?
Yeah, so maybe like 2 years ago now, the company realized that to move forward, data is plays a more significant role. And not only to move forward in terms of like tackling the business challenges of tomorrow, but even to support the scale that the company is seeing. After the growth and with doubling production facility capacities, bringing in more and more people, of course, there needs to be more and more automation as part of that. And as you know, automation is fueled by data. If there is not good data available, then automation is a challenge there. And that's why the board created this area, pulling in teams from IT, pulling in teams from business process management and other areas to really form a data organization that is composed out of data management, data platform, data analytics or business intelligence, where we focus on self-service BI. And the last but not least is our advanced analytics and data science team.
And when you started your data journey as a company, 1 or 2 years ago, what was the baseline? What the problems? Where was value not really realized with data?
I would highlight two things. One was a growing business and a growing company in a fast-moving market. Data, there was a high demand for making good decisions based on data. And that was something that a few years ago was really not centralized. It was like there were different pockets with different maturity levels in the company. And that was sort of like not helping to move forward. In addition, on the data management side, there was, of course, functions for data management and master data management established, but very hard to keep track with a tremendous growth and speed. And that was basically the situation before, as well as, and that's, of course, a visionary aspect of that, seeing what's happening around Sartorius in the world, what are competitors doing, where's the market heading, and the ever more promise that data actually also brings to the company in terms of like controlling business, understanding the business, and also like generating new business.
So basically where you started was really that data could not be used at scale for decision making. Is that right? Do I hear that right?
I was lucky when I joined. We already made large steps towards implementing self-service BI and enabling a lot of people in the organization to work with data. And I really have to point out I have a great team there that started that already like 2 years ago. Great leadership and great people there who execute this and ramped up about 3,000 users over just 2.5 years on our self-service BI platform. And that's really, amazing. I've never seen that before. And those are active users. We track them actually using the system, that they at least are on the system once or twice a month. So they really use it.
Amazing. And that was basically really, a major breakthrough and achievement, having like several thousand people on that platform. What results does it give you? Is there anything, you already see now happening in terms of business benefits from that? How much value did you create with that?
Absolutely. So since we are we're a pretty research-minded company, I would say, but that's my personal opinion. So we don't need to convince people that data is an important thing, and they have by themselves, they are intrigued in order to look at data in order to make decisions. And that actually works very well. So what we see is a different speed in adoption today. So we have really some parts of the organization who are well versed in using also the analytics tools that we provide to them and working with data. We have others that actually replicate their spreadsheet in the BI tools, if you want to say so. But still, we started off with enabling and focusing more and more on enablement in the recent years. Now we actually went a step further and went into more consulting mode. So by monitoring who's basically doing what, how long do the reports run, and those kind of things, we can point out much better who we can support in order to build better algorithms, better dashboards, better reports, and then we go in and work with them. Overall, we really see the community that we created there with those self-service BI users to be really flourishing. They come up with ideas, they are very fast, and also providing us input for our data quality efforts. They are almost like inbound product managers for us to make sure that we put our effort into the right topics.
That is so important, because once you roll out self-service BI, data quality is that next thing in mind. But before we jump into that, so which major business areas would you say have benefited most from the new capabilities? Was it manufacturing? Was it research? Or maybe you can also deep dive on how they leveraged it.
I think some of the highlights are really sort of the support functions, finance and controlling, for example. But we also were we see a very great progress when it comes to sales teams and marketing teams who are using really those data analytics capabilities very well and have a real drive for that one that sometimes goes beyond our capabilities. And so we try to speed up and match their needs. We still need to improve on operations when it comes to manufacturing and so on. So we have partly their heterogeneous system landscapes, systems that we build by ourselves. So there's still a way to go for us to integrate all those data sources and then really to provide value with self-service BI reporting in those areas. Nevertheless, we work closely with them.
And did you start to measure or estimate the total value that your platform is delivering?
No. And honestly, I'm not sure how to do that. That's something I really would need to learn more. But the second thing, and that's a more important thing, we are a small team and we are running very fast in order to meet the demand that the organization is growing. To me right now, the value is based on the feedback that we get from the business, from the users, as well as from the stakeholders. And the good thing is that carries us and that carries our effort.
Yeah, I can totally see that. In particular, like when you empower so many people at the same time, that is very powerful.
Clear.
There are probably few people who question the value if so many people are more productive and more effective.
Yeah.
So tell me, I mean, getting those several thousand people to adopt self-service BI, how did you approach that, or how did you as a company approach that since the journey started 2 years ago?
High-level story is, of course, the demand was there, and there was a small and very pragmatic team who started early on to just decide on a tool and went straight for rolling it out. So there was very limited. The approach there, and that's really what I cherish, was to go ahead, build something, learn while doing it, rolling it out and working with the feedback to improve it. And that actually worked very well.
And do you think the choice of the tool was important, or was it just about taking a tool and doing the right steps in terms of learning and improving?
No, I think there's also the choice of the tool had something to do with it as well, where the team was at that time looking for, of course, a tool that is well known on the market and where people are also available to join the team and bring skills to the company, as well as a tool where their adoption stories are already out there. So where other companies have that tool adopted, and where the learning curve to learn that tool was not that high. So as we know it from BI tools, some of them are hard to learn and some of them are more easy to learn. And the team was certainly looking for something that is more easy to learn, because the idea of democratizing access to data and rolling it out to a significant amount of employees at Sartorius, that was already there from the beginning.
And how did you need to adjust the tech stack, as a company over the last 2 years to drive that adoption?
I can give some specifics. So we work with SAP as a backend, with an SAP ERP, and we work with SAP BW in the case as a data warehousing solution. We run our BW on HANA. and basically feed off there with Tableau in terms of self-service BI. The what we have seen in the past is that we need to have more flexibility in the setup, and we need to be able to be more flexibly control the performance of the overall architecture. And that's an activity that we're doing right now, where we basically introduced an additional layer in between our BW and the BI tool. So we are introducing now an additional warehousing layer that uses cloud native technology, where we can actually then scale with the demand and also better control the performance. That helps us as a small organization as well, because from a vision perspective, we want to not only stop at self-service BI, but also want to give the business the capabilities to do data modeling by themselves on the warehouse. Right. In the past, the team has always done that. When there was a data demand, we always had to look at the different views and data sources we provide for the analysis, and we have become a bottleneck there. And that's certainly something that, with the amount of scale and the speed the company was growing, is a challenge. So now we want to focus more on standardizing our data sources or data products that we then propagate into that additional warehousing layer, where then either people can directly consume it or can start modeling in their other sources. In addition to that, we have a data platform that we built that also allows for external data or additional data that does not come out of our corporate application world to be injected into that middle layer as well.
And as far as I recall, so you have basically SAP on-prem and with SAP BW, and then you have a public cloud. I think, as far as I recall, it was Azure. Is that right? Mm-hmm. That you put on top of that stack, basically. So you're really mixing here you're working here in a hybrid environment, having your sources coming up from the ground. You gather them in SAP BW, and then as you provide them to the users, you put it into very developer friendly and self-service friendly environments in the cloud on Azure.
Yes, and that's we try there, of course, to be very cautious about the implications in cost, and we worked a lot with our IT department in order to ensure, of course, that we have a secure environment in which we are working there. But we already see after the starting off, as I said, we are in the middle of this transition. The first results are very promising, giving fast access to data, and the most important thing is scalable performance. So when we see high load times, that we really can say, okay, people can rely on their experience on how long actual things are loading and how long they need to wait for certain information to be surfaced to them. So we really try to make that more reliable there. And that actually in the first pilots works great.
Did you have any challenges to overcome with regards to regulations, actually? Because in a pharmaceutical context, it's of course much more regulated than, let's say, in a retail.
So first of all, we don't develop drugs in this case, but we of course adhere to high quality standards that our customers also ask us for and that we think are the appropriate way to go. Of course, specifically, identity and access management is a very important topic to us, to make sure that the right people can access the information, the right information, but also that we more or less make sure that we don't overexpose information there. And that's a tricky thing. Specifically, since we also want to democratize data, we always want to give preferably a little bit more data to the users, but at the same time need to make sure that we don't overstep boundaries that we don't want to. Yeah, so compliance, regulations, that's a very, very important topic to us as well as for our customers.
So how do you strike that balance? Any tips that you can, any learnings so far?
It's actually really, really tough. Yeah, so we spend a lot of time understanding together with the IT department and with the standards that we want to adhere to, because of course there are standards we want to adhere to. Those are giving us the guidelines in order to, of course, work against. But there are always gray zones where we sit together with IT, with our legal department, and figure out, okay, is that what's the implication of us doing this right now? Because I think we have an approach there, we have quality control and a way to do this, and we have expertise across different areas. For us, it was more challenge to make sure that the self-service BI approach actually generates the same results on the same questions across the organization. So it was more this kind of internal compliance to certain topic, I would say, that now is something that we need to address.
And do you think this is important? I mean, how there is a balance between speed and consistency in a way. And you clearly decided more on the speed side, but now you see the ramification of that. Is that right? I mean, what?
Yeah. So
did you change your mind?
No, we didn't change our mind, but we just saw things that surfaced by the fast approach that we had there. So giving, of course, the power to a lot of people in the organization causes here and there challenges when it comes to being able to compare results. So some of the KPIs that we have in the organization are very important for us through the different layers all the way to the top, in order, of course, to understand what's happening and then to control the business and to make the right decisions. And we have seen in the past that sometimes those KPIs have the same name and the same semantics, but they don't have the same syntax. So they have a different way of being calculated in different areas, which of course, when you start bringing that up, nothing fits together anymore. So and that's really something that caused frustration and caused also some pushback towards the self-service BI from some who said, hey, we can't do this, we need to centralize this. And we were pushing back, no, don't centralize, we can't do this. So now the team came up as well with a very nice approach to roll out analytic governance and to really look into, can't we solve this with transparency, clear responsibilities, and communication ways throughout that scaling company that are so simple that we basically allow everybody to learn fast, use and reuse things so that we don't get into the challenge anymore. And as part of that, we now started to look at the different KPIs, define them together with the responsible departments who are sort of owners, and make sure, yes, you are the owners, and then define ownership there. Document that as part of our data catalog efforts there as well. Combine it then, where does the data come from, create transparency upon those lines. And then there's the next step we really would like to see, can we not create reusable nuggets, something that people could just reuse when they build a report or something, so that or a dashboard, so that they don't even need to touch those KPIs.
But it just
team. Yes.
Now, what were other obstacles on the way, and major lessons learned that you had? I'm thinking also in particular of culture and adoption and data literacy. Was that something you had to invest in?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So as I said, it's a small team, and they started quickly to have dedicated workshop with the different business units and explain everything, give training to users. They created online trainings that we follow up as well. We work with HR to really push online trainings to people in new roles. So there was a lot of enablement that we did, but of course, with a fast-growing company and bringing new people in there, things get lost here and there. So we see that challenge, that we cannot basically bring everybody to be a super data literate BI professional user. We just can't, and we don't need to, I think. What we want to do is, now we want to once more foster this kind of self-learning environment, and we put needs of achieved learning towards access to the tool. So the team was then at one point said, okay, now we see that there are people trying to go around this. You only get a license if you did the training. And this is something that actually helped us to overstep the first hurdles. I would not say that now that helped to make everybody data literate and proficiency in using those BI tools, But now at least we have a good baseline where they can start with. They learned about who are the people involved. They learned who can I go to when I need more access or information. And in addition, we complemented that by looking at not the individual user behavior, but we looked at the performance of the tool. We looked at what queries do run very long, where are challenges, and then now want to go more into a consulting way of really pointing out, hey, we see that your queries are running very long. Maybe we can help you with some expertise. Maybe we can help you optimize them. Or in general, give a training to the users again to see, okay, this is how you can do this in a more efficient way. That meets us better as a small team than the broad, and we roll it out to everybody and we have lots of classrooms with trainings.
Great. Were there any other major obstacles or that you had to overcome?
Well, performance challenges from time to time, I would say. And you might say, okay, performance challenges, they're not major obstacles, but they can quickly become major obstacles in terms of slowing down or decreasing adoption rate. So that's why the team from the beginning on took that very serious. When we run into performance issues, we have potential churn there. And as I mentioned, the culture is a very pragmatic culture at Sartorius. So if we don't meet demands, there's a high risk that people find ways how to get their needs solved without us. Yeah. But I also understand the need. So performance was one of the challenges that became more important than it sometimes sounds.
What would you provide as advice to other data leaders on this topic of self-service BI from your journey?
Yeah. So that might be an old one, but this success was mainly driven by the people driving this and the passion behind it and the relentless effort to break something off the ground because they believe in that. And that's really not to underestimate. The team that is there today, the leaders are great, the people in the team is great, and that was a key success factors. So put together a team that truly believes in the value of the self-service BI and truly think that democratizing data is the way to go. And you can only do that as much top down. And that team was successful because they were really believing into it. That's a key thing. So it's people. And the second thing is, I would say what was highly successful was to really combine education with access to the tools. We were very lucky there because we have an organization that really likes to work with data or wants to work with data. But it helped really to control a little bit is it really used what we have? Do the people have at least the basic skills in order to get going? Otherwise, we would have drowned in support cases and questions, how does this work, and so on. So that was good as well. And the third one was really stepping into our users there and figuring out how they want to work. And one of the things, and that goes back to the performance thing, is we are now really living in this cell phone world, in the BI area as well. Things need to be fast. And there's so much that you can do via technology. A lot of that has to do with learning and best practices. But if you don't adhere to those things as a team while rolling it out, there will soon be less enthusiasm of the users towards you rolling out those BI tools. So keep performance, usability in mind. Link access to training effort there as well, and put together a team that really believes in what they are doing and are passionate about it. I think those three things to me are some of the key factors for success.
Great learnings.
Yeah, and don't, it's not the tool. It's really those things make more difference than this tool selection. And it's better to select a tool that you get started with, and after half a year you say, oh, that wasn't the right choice, and do a pivot there. But the other things, they sustain.
I'm absolutely with you on that. And I guess that's something that through all the noise in the market, we always focus a lot on tooling. But we all, like most data leaders by now know, it's not about the tooling. It's about how we empower people and enable people to use stuff and how to set it up. Now, what are the remaining challenges that you have in that self-service journey? You mentioned that you're moving now towards the self-service engineering side with the move to put things into Azure and providing people to do self-service ETL. Is that the major challenge for you now? Are there other things?
There's another self-service story that we already run since years, but we still need to be able to improve there. So self-service for me is not only an analytics topic, it's as much a data management topic. And I have to tell you that to me, this is the more challenging task at this point in time, to really bring our efforts in terms of data management and data governance to a new level. So the team in the past did really a tremendous job to put everything together and keep more or less everything in shape, given the high growth that we have. But we need to get closer to our users as well. So we still work with interfaces that are providing access to all elements versus being very role specific and really being down to the point for the users in the business to just simply use it for data entry, for changing data and so on, as part of their role and not as, a power user would need to be. I cannot train everybody as a power user, and we don't want to do that. So we want to be very specific, want to be part of the processes and want to have as simple UIs as possible. And that's a daunting task, I have to tell you. Processes for creating, for example, products, processes to manage our customer life cycle, but also then when we go then into the production areas like bill of materials and routings and so on, our intention there is to control quality along the life cycle and sort of like control it by design, so that we really create together with the business a vision of how data quality should be, and then implement that into our tools and provide really simple to use interfaces that are role specific and at the right point in the processes for the data users to then follow this through. And in order to go there, we are rolling out data governance in a very pragmatic manner, I would say, but focusing on a couple of key elements there for us that enables us then to be closer to this whole thing. But data management, decentralization of data management, self-service data management, that's really something that we work on right now.
Perfect. And I think there are a lot of interesting paradigms to look at, like the data mesh, that you're probably also currently interested in.
Absolutely, yeah. So don't get me wrong. I'm trying to not use all those terms, because when I work with my stakeholders, they don't really mind. Yeah. So if I talk to our stakeholders in the business and I tell them about the data mesh, they're like, how does that help me? So that's why, excuse me when I don't use always those words, but of course we look into those concepts. So we have the sharpening the axe in the team is a very high thing that we put a tremendous focus on from a leadership perspective to learn new concepts there as well.
Perfect. Wonderful. Such a great story on self-service analytics and how to scale it to over 3,000 users in such a short amount of time in a high growth environment where things sometimes get chaotic, but they are worth it because you can create so much value in such fast time.
That's true. Yeah.
So let's close up with very, very fast questions.
Okay,
let's start with the first one, a nice lightning round. So your advice to new data leaders, what they should focus on in the first 50 to 100 days?
Understand your business, learn from your team, and create passion in the team for the data topics.
Are there any resources, books, articles, podcasts that you would recommend for data leaders that want to learn more?
I don't have a short list of books, but what I would recommend would be look for peers, look for people in a similar role and reach out to them and start networking. I think that would, at least to me, was giving me the most impact.
What is your favorite activity when you are not working with data?
So besides playing with my kids and being with my family, I like to go mountain biking.
And where do you do that?
Huh?
Where
Sorry?
do you do that?
Where do I do this?
Yeah.
Wherever I can and have time for it, but preferably in the Alps, actually.
Very good. And well, you live a bit far from the Alps, though, yeah? You're in the middle of Germany.
I actually live in Munich, or family lives in Munich, and I'm in Göttingen very frequently.
Okay, I see. Tell me one word to describe ChatGPT.
Thrilling.
What is a song that pumps you up?
I might be now I'm giving away my age, but I'm still a big Nirvana fan. And Smells Like Teen Spirit is still one of the things that always gets me out of a depression or a frustrated moment.
It's one of the best albums ever recorded. That's my
Absolutely.
opinion, my humble opinion. Great. And what is the moment in your career when you realized it was time to make a change?
I was with SAP for like, I think, a month short of 10 years. And I really admire SAP as a company, and I really love to work there. But I was feeling too comfortable. I felt like, hey, this is great, and I like to do this, and I could do this forever. And that was a very alarming sign for me. And that's when I said, okay, now I need to change something. I want to learn new stuff, learn stuff from the outside and from the difference. And that what led me then to going to Amazon Web Services, yeah, and being thrown in a more technical role there as well, in an environment that I didn't really know, into fast growing. There was a lot of skepticism in the market at that point in time towards cloud technology, but it made me from learning so much smarter and so much more aware of capabilities where things can go. So that was for me a tremendous time and opportunity.
And you've seen so many different environments. I mean, you moved then also to automotive and then to pharmaceutical. I mean, how do you handle moving between such very different domains?
It's honestly challenging, and that brings me back to those things that you asked me, right? So one thing for me that I learned fast was, if I want to bring any value, then I need to understand what this environment needs and what it's doing, and how people think about that in the environment. And the second thing was really like, hey, listening to that team. There's, in all cases where I joined, there were so many good things happening there, and so much experience that we could leverage together then to move forward and basically shape the future. So that's the most important thing. I can't say for myself, when you look at what did you achieve in the first 100 days, most probably I don't achieve so much in there in terms of measurable stuff. But what I hope that I achieved also here at Sartorius was like to get a good grab, to bring that team together, to really see, okay, we form a mission together and we find a good way moving forward that fits to the needs of the company. And then that pays off. So if you ask me, what did you do in the first 1,000 days? Then there will be lots of more things.
Wonderful. So last question. If you were a CEO for a day, what would you tell the data team?
Beside giving more budget and resources? No, what would I tell the data team? I think I would explain to them really the impact that their daily work has on fulfilling our mission and on our customers. Because there's one thing that we do not enough, and that is to help everybody understand what impact they do in their daily work as part of this big wheel that's turning. But honestly, even though the wheel turns slowly, there's a significant impact that the work of the people, specifically in data, has on explicitly those operations. And I would foster that recognition and would help them understand, okay, this is why you are so important as part of this big wheel.
So much advice, so much experience, Philipp. Thank you so much for sharing all of your stories, all of your lessons learned with the audience. I think it will be of tremendous value to our listeners. And I just want to say a big thank you and for being on the show and for sharing your learnings with us.
I thank you for the opportunity. And what I hope is that some of that is relevant to others. And I would also be as I mentioned, networking is important. I'm very happy about feedback as well and learn from others. So I'm certainly dialing in your podcast in the future too.
Great to hear that. Thank you very much, Philipp.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Data Masterclass series. You can fast-track your journey to data mastery by joining our 3 days immersive training event Data Masterclass Europe 2023 at www.datamasterclass.eu.
Borek Data Masterclass, where great data journeys begin.